Greetings, Legunus. Arndelft here. So, this is the first model showcase I have done in a really long time. For those of you who particularly enjoy the model showcases, apologies on the delay. For those of you who are new, this is simply where I showcase a few of my models, either updates to them or brand new features, depending on when they are simply brand new. And for those of you who are returning from old model showcases, you can see that I've obviously got a little bit of some new things here. The first of which, of course, is this Lazy Susan that I 3D printed down here. And I will be pointing out, if I do have any models here that are 3D printed, I will be pointing them out in each showcase. This first guy here is definitely not 3D printed. Those of you who have ever had the, I think they're called the Praetorian Guard, or something along those lines. They're Emperor Children, 3rd Legion. There's meant to be the guards for the, for Fulgrim. And I've put a custodian staff into his hands there. Well, hand. And I am going to be running him as a custodian. I just loved the look, I loved the heraldry, and I bought them, not intending to make them custodians, though someone did suggest that at the time, but just as a side note, as a thought process. They sat around for a few years, and then I decided, screw it, I'm going to get some staffs. And I did it, and they look awesome with the staffs, and I frickin' love it. Though I do have to paint the inside of the barrel there. You can see how after I drilled that barrel, it, obviously the gray plastic from the inside is showing. And by the way, I do want to apologize. My 3D printer is running in the background. I know some people may not, like that noise. Personally, I love it. I go to sleep with that thing running. It's not that I need it to sleep. Like some people need fans. I enjoy it. Especially when it goes in circles. But anyway. Alright, so, moving on. We've got a little bit of an update, and this update is pretty simple. It literally, I just gave this guy a spray paint. I primed him. And I know that's like a really small update. But I didn't know how well his helmet was going to take paint. As you can see from the other captain here, the helmet is, it's of a cheaper variety off of the Spartans from the Halo clicks that was around for a little while. So, the helmet took the paint really well. I'm very pleased with it. And, I took this other guy apart, who was, he was completely glued, including backpack and everything. I completely took him apart. I took off his weapon. I magnetized everything. So this guy can now be run as just a regular captain. He can be run as an ancient. He can be run just as whatever I want him. And I have helmets on them now, which, just makes me all kinds of happy. Because no kind of actual Astartes helmet will fit on these guys. None. You have to either put a head on them, or, in this instance, find a helmet that fits. I found Spartan helmets, which not only fit, but I think look really, really cool. Okay, moving on to our next guy. The flash is coming off pretty bright on him due to his paint job, so I'm going to go ahead and flip that off. Okay, alright, that's a pretty decent shot of him. Okay, and he is our first 3D printed model that we'll be showing here. His arms are longer, as you can see, than a regular Space Marine. This guy has been sized to be essentially the size of a Primaris Space Marine, but he's meant to be an Iron Warrior. I, however, am going with, I guess I might have them be Primaris Space Marines, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about Primaris Space Marines right now. I'm not sure how I feel about them. Lore-wise, most people hate them lore-wise, but lore-wise, I actually like the lore behind them. I think it's pretty squared off. My gimmick is in a completely separate area. I'm not going to get into that right now. Anyways, I have a regular backpack on him, magnetized, and then both of his arms are magnetized, and they're also, if I could find a way to pull them up, let you see. They're magnetized at the wrists as well. So I can interchange weapons, not to mention the arms themselves, the backpack, whole 9 yards. And I know you can't really tell all that well. You can see it a little bit there. There's the shape of a Luna emblem with a head of a wolf over it. That is the Luna wolf emblem over the shoulder pad there. And that is, yes, indeed, you know, I am going to be running these guys as Luna wolves. Having a 3D printer allows you to be all kinds of creative. And I have never found anywhere else, you know, 3D print, you know, well, I mean, sorry, I haven't found anywhere else where you can get the Luna wolf emblem and whatnot on the shoulder pad, and boom, there it was, 3D printable. So I 3D printed it. And yeah, that's what this guy is. He's printed, and I've begun trying to paint him in Luna Wolf colors, which I'll go ahead and yeah. As you can see here, there is the emblem of the, well, the colors of the Luna Wolf and Luna Wolves that I want to go for with this guy. And this is more like a Luna Wolf captain. But as you can see, this is what I want to capture. But then you look back at my model here, and obviously they don't have the exact same look to them, so I'm wondering, where do I put the black? That's been my halt up to this point. I'm not sure where to put the black on him. So I'm currently having that issue. Anyway, moving on. And we'll go ahead and turn the flash back on for this guy. And this guy is also the same variety as the other dude. He's 3D printed. His arms have not yet been treated with anything to essentially go over the lines, because a 3D printed model is going to have a bunch of lines up and down it. And his arm here hasn't been treated, his left arm, and his arm actually is not, it's not native to him. That's not the right word. It's not 3D printed. It's regular plastic. It's not meant for a Primaris Space Marine, so it's a bit shorter. I have noticed that about the Primaris Space Marines. Their arms are longer. But yeah, he also has the Luna Wolf emblem on his shoulder. I know it's not showing up as well. It's also, it hasn't been glazed and then painted yet. So you're getting a lot of that weird look you're currently getting off of his shoulder pauldron there. It's very typical of the black 3D printed that I've seen. Obviously the Lazy Susan here doesn't have quite that kind of gloss to it, but strangely black 3D printed things, they're really glossy. So that's something I've been kind of either learning to live with or just, you know, dealing with, you know, just that kind of thing. But I want to tell you something about both of these guys. So the dude in white here, I used a type of glaze on him. I did it, it was a triple thick glaze of some kind, and I glazed him with it 3 times, so it was like, you know, 9 layers of glaze or whatever. But anyway, I glazed him with it 3 times, and it covered up his mold line, you know, the 3D printed lines really, really well. It was very difficult to have any notion that he was 3D printed after that. This other dude over here, his main body and, you know, legs, I used liquid green stuff. And I found it equally difficult to tell that he'd been 3D printed, but the look was a little rougher. In other words, it looked like his armor was a bit chipped or dented in places, that kind of thing, which is an okay look. You know, I'm not against that look. You know, you're going into combat, invariably, that's going to happen. So it just looks like his armor isn't quite in as quite good repair, and etc. So I was pleased with that in its own right. Both of these guys are great in their own way, but glazing, it comes out smoother, and ironically, is much, much easier. Well, I'm not sure if that's ironic, but whatever. Anyway, yeah. Glazing is easier, it's faster, and it just turns out better. I might have spent around 3-4 hours just trying to get the liquid green stuff all over this guy to cover up all his lines. Where with this dude, I glazed him, And, well, I simply glazed him, and then I waited about 15 minutes for the glaze to dry, and then I glazed him again. Process repeated. Then did it again. And that time when he dried off, when the glaze, hardened again, he looked pretty much normal. At that point, I was very pleased with the final product. So, that was when I stopped glazing him and primed him. And once he was primed, he looked pretty much like a regular Marine. On the top of his helmet, there are a few lines that are still distinct, but besides that, he's great. And, yeah. So this was model showcase for these 5 figures. My Custodes, an update on 2 of my captains with Spartan helmets, who are from I believe the Black Assault on Black Reach set, and 2 of my first 3D printed guys who I'm going to be running as Luna Wolves. I would appreciate any feedback down in the comment section below. Let me know what y'all think. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, please let me know why. And if you're new to the channel and genuinely enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. In any case, don't get into too much trouble or do. It's always up to you. Toodles!